Hey everyone, and welcome back to our next episode of I Love the Wild. And this week we are building for the Scimitar Horned Oryx. But before we go into that, or before we talk about that, a little bit of information regarding this channel. There will be no video next week, so the coming week, the coming Wednesdays, there will be no YouTube video. That's because we are having some guests over here in our flat from my girlfriend's side of the family, and that's why I will not be able to record anything. I hope that's okay for you guys. No worries, the week after that we will be back fully and without any problems, so it will only be 1 week. And yeah, this is the short information I want to give you, so you are not worried that there is no YouTube video next week. And yeah, so we are building for the Scimitar Oryx today, and as you already can see, it's a little bit of a shorter video that has to do with that we already built the main structure, the backstage area and everything in the last episode, and I can reuse a lot of the assets from last week's episode of the Kowalski's horse in this build as well. And the Scimitar Oryx is, I think, one of the rarest animals we have in this game up to this date, because they are in fact extinct in the wild. Meaning there are no wild species of this, there are no wild kinds of the species, so that's the way. They only exist in captivity. This happened to habitat loss as well as hunting and pollution, everything. And they didn't really, it wasn't really possible to breed them in the wild. So I think there are some programs now that try to do that, but as it stands for now, this animal is extinct in the wild. There are no wild Scimitar Horned Oryx antelopes. And we can only hope that this changes in the future and that they will be able to repopulate them, and that these animals do not only exist in zoos but also in the savanna of Africa, on the deserts. I don't know. I think more deserty, savanna-ish areas is appropriate for these animals. But speaking of areas and biomes, we are of course having the Scimitar Oryx next to our Kowalski horses, simply because they are also herbivores. We can use the same indoor building for both of them, the stables that we built last week, which will actually be on the workshop when you watch this video. I hope I don't forget it, to put a link to the Steam workshop page down below in the description. So if you want to have the stable for yourself, go down below, download it for yourself, place it in your zoo. I hope everything works. If not, I will write it in the information there, and then you can have the stable for your own, because a lot of people ask me about this, and now I can say they can now be happy that they get this. It always flatters me if people want my stuff. The deer for this habitat is similar to the Kowalski one, but a little bit different in that way that it is not as forested as the Kowalski horse habitat, simply because I wanted to give this animal that comes from the desert and arid regions of Africa a little bit of a feeling of their homeworld. So it's not a big foresty area with a lot of moisture and then trees and everything. It is still well planted and overgrown, because this is due to the climate we are building in, but it is still a little bit more sunny. That's also why we have built a little bit of a sunshade in the background, where these animals can get some shade in the hot days of the summer if they want to. And I have to say, now that I have seen both the Kowalski's horse and the Scimitar Oryx, I'm usually a little bit reserved when it comes to the herbivores in these species. Don't get me wrong, they are all awesome, and I cannot wait to build for the ibex. But it is they are. They're not that interesting or cool like the carnivores, People always love the T-Rex. Nobody really cares for yeah, a sticky moloch, for example, or a power or a trike. And of course, there are people that love these animals, but a T-Rex is always this cool animal, and a lion is always cooler than an antelope, if you don't get what I mean. But I have to say, with these two animals, especially with the animations, as the horses, as well as the Scimitar Oryx ones, they really grew on me. They really grew on me. I really like them. I wish I could have the Scimitar Oryx as well, also in Raven Creek, which is sadly not possible. But having them here in Isle of the Wild definitely, yeah, makes me happy, because they are really cool. They are really playful when they play with their enrichment items and everything, and they are also kind of cute, I have to say that. So Frontier, as again with all the other animals in this pack, does an awesome job of bringing them to life and recreating their real life counterpart. And I haven't seen Scimitar Oryxes yet, I think, in the zoos, but maybe I will be in the future, and then I can compare these two species, or these two with each other, and see yeah, if Frontier did basically a perfect job with recreating them. But from what I've seen and from what other people talked or told me, they are really cool. They look really realistic, and this is really nice. And yeah, as I said, we are reusing a lot of the stuff from the Przewalski horse habitat. So a lot of the grass that we already built there, the stick piles that these animals can use for rubbing their horns or their hide against it, their fur. So this is always important. If you build for antelopes or other hoofstock, always have these piles of sticks and trees there. So because animals, they like to rub their bodies against it, or their horns, yeah, to get rid of insects or parasites and everything. So that's a very important thing or tip you want to keep in mind. And people might ask why I built basically the same habitat again, and why this is a YouTube video. For once, yes, I can understand you. If you see, okay, it's basically the same habitat mirrored and just a little bit smaller, then you can, of course, click away. But one thing, and this has to do also with realism, in a zoo, you wouldn't, in a bigger zoo or a park, you wouldn't necessarily build an entirely new habitat for every single species, especially when it comes to hoofstock. For hoofstock, usually what you do, I also talked about this in the stream, is you have a part of an area that is designed for hoofstock in general, so everything from bovines to antelopes to horses, and then you just fences off. So you have some, yeah, as these piles there, some shading, some enrichment items, and then basically you can switch out and change what is in this habitat as you like, because most herbivores, when they are not rhinos or elephants, have similar needs, that they need some shade, that they need some water, something to eat, and some enrichment. It's basically very simple, and so zoos don't really mostly bother with giving each different species of herbivore a uniquely designed habitat. They usually look very much the same, or at least in the zoos I was, they generally look always a little bit the same. So if you want to do, you can easily switch animals out. You can easily switch the horses. If you, for example, don't have Scimitar Oryxes at one point in the zoo, we can easily make this a second breeding area for the horses, for example, or for a different herbivore. So don't scare away from basically building a bit of a lesser designed or lesser entertaining habitat if you don't feel like it. It is totally okay to have like a very standard habitat with just some grass, some rocks, some sticks here and there, and calling it a day, because this is what zoos do. Zoos often work simpler than you might imagine, and if you really go to a zoo and look at them, most habitats are some are elaborate and really clever design and play with stuff, but a lot of them also are just very simple and are just a fenced off paddock or a bit of grass in an area with some huts and with some sun shading, and that's it. Because if the animal was happy, why bothering with elaborate designs and over-the-top architecture if the animal is happy the way it is? And nowadays, it's more important. It becomes more important to keep the animals entertained, happy. Yeah, instead of just building for the guests, you're also building for the animals. And yeah, so yeah, for last note before we go into some music, we are of course decorating further the barn here, adding some yeah, some backstage areas, some tools here and there, some cards and crates, and also some fruits, some of the new pumpkins, and yeah, the plans for the next episodes that are coming of this, because this is of course the last big habitat animal from the conservation pack. We will still have the axolotl, so the reptile amphibian house, what you want to call it, with all different kind of rare exhibit animals. Then of course we have the koala habitat that was suggested by a viewer. So we will have a koala habitat. We will build a greenhouse so that this park can grow their own crops, at least a few of them, so they are not reliable because we are on an island. They are not relying on constant deliveries. And then we have to see what other animals we want to have. We still have a little bit of space here, so as always, put your suggestions and ideas down in the comments of what animals you want to like to see, and what conservation ideas you have with these animals. And I am happily looking over them, and if I find something that really that I think is really nice, I will include this in this park. So yeah, I will leave you now to some music until the end of the speedfield, and I then see you in the real-time part where we look at the habitat and everything. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it so far. I see you in the end of the video. So, and here we are now in the real-time part, and we are standing in front of our lovely Kowalski horse habitat. And if we now go alongside here we have the barn. We will look at that in a moment. We have our Scimitar Oryx habitat, where I think there it was feeding time a moment ago. And yeah, as I said, it is very similar to the Kowalski horse habitat, with a few little bit of twists, that it is a little bit more open, has fewer trees in the foreground, more in the background, to blur the line between the map end and the habitat. And yeah, it is more prairie-like, more grassland-like than the Kowalski horse one. And again, sadly, the Scimitar Oryx antelope cannot go inside due to the hitbox in this game. But nonetheless, they can sleep under the sunshade. And yeah, this is what it is. Maybe it's in the future. Frontier will change the hitbox a little bit, or make them a little bit smaller, and maybe then they can fit in. But yeah, we have the habitat gate here. I used a small one finally, small one from the new update, to have a little bit of an access gate here. And I always love when they play with the balls. With the ball, it's always cute. And yeah, the path at the moment leads to nowhere here. Most likely I will build the greenhouse here in the next episodes, or another loading storage facility unit there. We will see. I have not really planned what I will go there, but yeah, this is basically this end of the park done. On the other side, you can see there are the Siamangs, and there's a big leopard one behind all the scrap stuff that I place there just to have it in reach when I need it. But yeah, if you go in, yeah, we have this. I love this little animation with the scarecrow that gets deteriorated the more animals feed on it or eat from it. It's really nice. It came, I think, with the Europe pack, and yep, now it's restored back to health. As I said, it's a very simple habitat. A few more rocks, a little bit more grass, and yeah, this is the Siamang, I want to say, the Scimitar Oryx. Scimitar Oryx are really happy in it. Yeah, if we now go out again and through the big gates, as of course the guests and the stuff that works, you can also go. We are in the barn, in the stables, and sadly these fans that came with the Europack can't spin, but I thought they give a nice view, way of lighting this place up. And as you can see, yeah, it is very simple, very much utility stuff. We have our keeper hut in here behind here. I think this was the best way to hide it. Maybe I will place some more items on top of there, like they would store stuff out there that they don't need that often. But yeah, it is very simple. A lot of tools to clean the habitat or to do some maintenance work. A lot of crates, a lot of boxes for food and other items. Some barriers here if they need to fence something off. Yeah, just regular stuff. Some hoses to clean the stables. Some drains so the water can flow up. And yeah, we have actually we have a stable for every single animal. We have 5 Scimitar Oryx as well. We have 5 Kowalski horses, so each of them could have their own stable. Or if we have mother and child, we could have them in their own separate ones, so they don't get in conflict with other animals. But yeah, let me zoom out for a moment. Whoop. And then you can see this is the whole area now. You can clearly see this one is a little bit bigger as it's supposed to be open. This one a bit smaller. And yeah, this is this area, this part of the park done. And if we zoom out completely, you can see the boundaries. And yeah, as I said, we have still a lot of space left in the middle where we will have the small critter house and most likely also koalas. We have some space here, some space behind here. We still need something like a worker village where we all have stuff like the break rooms and the animal market, and we also need some small animal hospital in here, so we can cure animals if they are sick or injured. So these things are necessary. They have to plan them in before we do something else. But overall, yeah, this is the space we have left, and I think we can do something with at least the 4 DUC animals now have their space in here. The only one that's missing is the axolotl. But that's, as I said, will be in the small critter's house. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you liked what you saw, and if you do, maybe consider giving this video a like. And if you already have it, maybe also consider giving a subscription. Doesn't cost you anything. And yeah, I hope I see you not next week, but the week after that. I hope I see you in the next episode. I should rather say, of Isle of the Wild. And yeah, have a great day. Stay safe, and yeah, goodbye everyone. Have a great time. Bye bye.